chapter 3, verse 33 and 43, Shrimad Bhagavad Gita. Even a man of wisdom behaves according to his own nature. Beings follow their nature. What can restraint do? Thus, knowing him who is superior to the intellect and restraining the self by the self, slay thou, O mighty armed Arjun, the enemy in the form of desire hard to conquer. So, in verse 33, the questioner says, it is said, what can restraint do? And in verse 43, it is said, restrain lower self by the higher self. They seem to contradict each other. Please help me understand the right place of restraint in one's life and what really comes under its purview. No, the word is not really restraint in verse 33. What is implied is all mortal beings are following the dictates of Prakrati. And the dictates of Prakrati cannot be disobeyed as far as the physical body is concerned. Be it an ignorant man or a realized man, Prakrati will operate the way Prakrati does. Prakrati cannot be disobeyed. So what is being said is here is Nigraha kim karishyati. You cannot stop it. Stopping it is one thing and distancing yourself from it is totally another thing. Nigrah cannot be done. This is said in the context of the inviolable control of Prakriti on the body and the brain. So Arjun, you will have to act. Every being acts because Prakriti is all about action. In Prakriti there is nothing called stillness. Prakriti is change, movement, action. Then verse 43 says, thus knowing him who is superior to the intellect and restraining the self by the self has the first self as the small self, which is aham, and then the second self as the capital self, which is the truth. Slay thou, O mighty armed Arjun, the enemy in the form of desire hard to conquer. Here what is being said is that the entire mechanism, the whole apparatus of Prakriti can be distanced from one's identity. Right? This distancing itself is the only way available to you to win Prakriti. It is beautifully captured when Sri Krishna says in another verse, that Arjun has to be nirash and nirmam. He says that you just have to fight, give up hope from the world, give up attachment to the world, and just fight. Prakriti allures us through hope. Prakriti allures us through the promise of completion. It says, get attached and you will get something special. Krishna says all that is sheer excitement won't help you. He says, Yuddhasva vigata jwaraha. Just fight. And be beyond such temperamental excitation. Seen essentially, the battle of Kurukshetra is the battle of Arjuna against his own Prakriti. The stranglehold of Prakriti upon Arjuna can be clearly seen in the opening chapter. The opening chapter is what is being fought against in the remaining 17 chapters. Vigata Jwara means one whose excitation has subdued. In the first chapter, all you see is excitation, fever. Jwar is fever. In fact, Arjuna puts it quite literally. He says, I am feverish. And my hair are standing on their ends. And my legs are shivering. I am feverish. This is Prakriti. It will do what it will do. You must do what you have to do. And it took 17 chapters and more to fight that which Arjuna demonstrated in the first chapter. Are you getting it? Again, in the same chapter comes the beautiful message. Swadharme nidhanam shreya and paradharmo bhayavaha. It took Krishna a lot to explain to Arjuna that Prakriti itself is paradharma. Dharma is that which tells you how to live, what to do, how to make your decisions. When your decisions happen under the influence of Prakriti, then this is not Dharma but Paradharma. And Krishna says, fight here while against Prakriti and die in the process. Fight here and die in the process. But don't succumb to what your physical and mental tendencies are imploring you to. Getting it? The message is subtle. It has to be understood. You cannot fight against your situation in which action is unavoidable. You cannot fight Arjun. You cannot fight against your situation in which action is unavoidable. Arjun is insisting that it is possible to somehow avoid action. Arjun is trying to fight against action itself. Arjun is saying, I will not act. So Arjun's fight is against action itself. Krishna says, no, that is not possible. You cannot fight the fight. The fight is not avoidable. Therefore, what to do? The answer to this question opens up something glorious for the entire mankind. The answer is, if fight you must, and if fighting is mandatory, if fighting is an inalienable part of living, then instead of trying to fight the fight, fight the right fight. Arjuna is saying, I'll fight the fight. And Krishna is saying, fight the right fight. Because you cannot fight the fight. If you think that if you can somehow avoid getting in the fight, if you think you can somehow avoid taking sides on the battlefield, it is not possible. Many people try that. Many people say, it is not really important, and we can take some kind of a neutral position, we need not fight. Krishna mocks at them. He says they are all hypocrites. You cannot take a neutral position, because even if you are taking a neutral position, you are still positioning yourself somewhere in the fight. Where have you now positioned yourself? At some so-called middle or neutral point. Maybe you are not fighting from either side, but you are fighting the fight. So you are still fighting. Rest assured, there is nobody who is born who can avoid fighting. To be born is to be born into a fight. So if you have to fight Arjun, fight the right fight. That is Dharma. Let us not entertain any delusion that we can comfortably stay unaligned or safe in our happy and secure houses. Those who decide not to fight are actually fighting the wrong fight. They meet a fate worse than the fighters on either side. In a battlefield, one side emerges as the winner, the other side as the loser. And then there is a third side as well. Which is this third side? The one who fought the fight and therefore didn't enter the battlefield at all. These are the mega losers. These are bigger losers than even the ones who got physically eliminated on the battlefield. That's what makes the Bhagavad Gita such a commanding scripture. It addresses the situation on a battlefield. It addresses the very complex question of right action.
आचार्य जी, इस प्रकृति का स्वभाव क्या है? मतलब जो प्रकृति है वो, मतलब इसका जो कैरेक्टरिस्टिक है वो क्या है?
Prakriti has no swabhav. Prakriti only has traits. Traits. Guna. So, for the sake of convenience, they have been classified into just three. Satarajtam. These three traits essentially just tell about three fundamental tendencies of the mind. There is the tendency that we all sometimes display to remain drowned in dark unconsciousness. And we derive pleasure out of it, don't we? That is called tamsa. We say we'll drown ourselves in liquor. Don't people do that? Even at this place there is so much hash and weed, and I'm talking of the city. Why do people do that? There is a certain pleasure in losing consciousness. Right? So that was observed by the seers, and they said that is one very prominent trait of Prakriti. We love losing consciousness. It's a strange thing, but we love losing consciousness. We love to be drunken and drowned. And then there is the trait that we all display of energetic and frenzied action, running around here and there, sometimes motivated, sometimes frantic. I'll get this or I'll avoid that. That is to be achieved. I'm a superstar, I'm happy. That kind of a thing. That has been called as rajas, rajoguna. That's just a tendency of the mind. That's the way we behave, we operate. And then there is another tendency that we all display. That tendency is to know. I want to know. I want to know what is going on. I want light. Nobody likes lies, for example. Do we? In general, we do not. We ask for the truth. Even if that which we mean by the truth is not really truth, but we at least want facts, don't we? So that is Satoguna. Tell me what is really going on. That is Satoguna. That again is a tendency of the mind. So that's Prakriti. It does not really have a center. And if you insist on determining a center of Prakriti, the center is merely of continuity. All that Prakriti wants is continuity in time. It wants to remain as it is. It wants to remain as it is in middle of all the changes that are called as Prakriti. So a lot of things will change. Everything changes in Prakriti. Species come, species go, species evolve. So much keeps happening. Universes rise, universes fall. But Prakriti in itself reaches nowhere. The center does not change. Time continues. Within time, these events keep happening.
So yes, means Prakriti is also a series of changes.
A Prakriti is an unchanging series of changes.
And also is temporary in nature. Means Prakriti is also
Prakriti is a permanent temporariness. Prakriti is a temporality that is very permanent. Everything is temporary, and this temporariness is permanent. That is Prakriti. So what is beyond this temporariness and permanence? So those who investigated Prakriti, they said, fine, there is Satrajtam, but there has to be real life beyond the three. So they said the purpose of all spiritual inquiry or advancement is to go beyond the three traits or gunas. They said you have to go gunatit or trigunatit, beyond Prakriti.
So you were talking there is a inquiry in Prakriti also, but that inquiry is different from this spiritual inquiry. That is, spiritual inquiry is not born from the inquiry which is there in Prakriti.
No. When you inquire, Prakriti is all that you have to inquire into. Except for Prakriti, what else is available to be inquired? Inquiry surely requires an object to be inquired, and all objects are in. So Prakriti alone can be inquired into.
You said three things are there in Prakriti, right? The third thing is it wants to know.
It wants to know, yes.
So that is not inquiring.
That is inquiry. So all inquiry is satogun. But then inquiry alone does not suffice. Liberation means inquiry and a strong urge to be free of that which has been now known. Therefore, knowledge by itself is often very insufficient. That is the reason you often find very knowledgeable people neck deep in slavery or bondages. Because knowledge is again just satogun. And all the three gunas are bondages. Satogun is the highest because it offers you half a way to move out of your slavery, but only half a way. The remaining half comes from a strong urge to be liberated of that which has been known. Otherwise, you will face a peculiar situation. You will come to know that you are in a bad position, but you will not act to redeem yourself of your bad position. Clear? So you must now ask, Acharya ji, inquiry comes from Satogun? That is all right. So even an inquiry into Prakriti comes from the Satogun of Prakriti. But liberation requires both inquiry and an urge towards liberation. Where does that urge come from? It's called grace. It comes from grace. It comes from prayer. It comes from your tears. It comes when you are really desperate.
And can you talk something about evolution also? Like, it is in Prakriti, and it is in individual species.
No, everything is evolving.
But it is individualistic, right?
You look at one individual thing and you say it is evolving. The fact is, in Prakriti, everything is evolving. Change is evolution. When the change appears kind of favorable to you, then you start calling it by the positive name of evolution. Actually, evolution is just change.